She and I have been talking for about 7 years since she started.
First interview. We were barely off the ground, and I was so grateful. So.
Well, you resonated with me, that's for sure, because you have really tapped into so many of the trends that we're talking about today and living. I mean, I live with this thing, for instance. But you know, one of the questions I think we all want to know today
China.
is,
Yes.
You've been in, you've been out, and sometimes we're trying to understand.
Yes.
So how are we supposed to look at China right now, and the clampdowns that we've seen in the government, certainly on different sectors that have just decimated those sectors in terms of the value of them.
Yes.
So what do you expect kind of to be your involvement?
Yes.
In investment play?
Our first move away from China was when China was had a very strong move, and the innovation there was being deeply appreciated while ours was not. So that was that kind of move. The second time we moved in, then we moved in, why? We saw the reaction to COVID, and we got more interested because it was the most disciplined country in terms of both monetary and fiscal policy during the crisis. And I thought that China had the possibility of becoming the Germany and Switzerland of the world, in terms of discipline, monetary and fiscal. As soon as Jack Ma was banished, effectively, last November, we started pulling back. Because what we're doing, and especially during February through May, where our strategy, just to give you a sense how volatile it is, our strategy from mid-February through mid-May, most people wouldn't admit this maybe, but this is how volatile we are.
Yeah.
Transparency was down 37%, peak to trough. So we have come back, but during that period, what we do, as we always do, we concentrated our portfolio towards our highest conviction names. China was moving away because almost every week and month there was a new regulatory move or crackdown. And so it was easy to do that. It was great because I'm always scrambling, looking for cash during a correction. Okay, where's the confidence lower? Where let's buy into some of these, our favorites here. Now, common prosperity. So what have we done? No China in our flagship. We do own some China in a few of our portfolios, the ones focused on autonomous technology and robotics. But we're very particular. Very low margin companies, because margin is clearly not appreciated by the government anymore. Common prosperity.
Right.
And very beneficial to tier 3, tier 4 cities, common prosperity. So JD Logistics, JD.com, Pinduoduo.
Does it stay this way, do you think, in China for a while?
Well,
I mean, it's hard to say, but China is certainly a country when they make a decision, it's longer term. It's longer term planning.
Right.
And President Xi certainly seems to be on this mission.
And I think he is very unsettled that the 3-child policy is not working.
Yeah.
And so there's a big social engineering, and by the way, this was all very forecastable, right? I mean, demographics, they knew 50 years ago what was going to happen.
Right.
So I think that's part of it, and there are the haves and the have-nots in China, like there is around the world. I think China's taking it more seriously because there's probably more social unrest than we now appreciate. What I don't understand is they're going after real estate, which is 75% of the consumer savings in China.
Individuals in China.
And if individual saving. If the prices are going down, which they have been, I think that could really hurt consumer confidence. I think it already is. And then last weekend, or the weekend before, the national government went after the regulators who had focused on the financial industry, as well as the financial institutions. And I'm just saying, wow, they're playing with fire.
It's a moving, yeah.
And talk about a cyclical risk out there. Think about that if we lose China. At the margin, China has been responsible for a tremendous amount of cyclical growth.
Right.
And commodity price inflation.
Did an M&A panel here, and one of the risks that one of the bankers brought up is that China specifically, geopolitical even though, in terms of military tension. So everybody's watching. So the future, it's in Florida.
Oh yes.
How come?
Most people would tell you there are tax considerations and so forth.
Is that
of course, that's part of it, of course. However, we were looking for a city that might be able to evolve into something like Austin has. And
do you think it can be Austin?
Yes, I absolutely
Why?
do. If you have not been to St. Pete, you must go. I've now become St. Pete's official ambassador. So
who's been to St. Pete?
St. Pete?
All right, fair amount.
It is, I mean, all my life I've said, I will never live in Florida, and here I am. I went to St. Pete. It is a young, vibrant town focused on culture, arts, music, a lot of tourism, very clean, very lovely, very friendly people from all over the place. And I do think we could have something like a South by Southwest in the St. Pete, Tampa region. I think Tampa is very exciting as well. Jeff Vinnick and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have really brought Tampa alive.
Do you keep your analysts in New York, at home?
Where they want to be. Those who are interested in pursuing a portfolio management track will have to be in St. Pete. But we have a hybrid working style. Our director of research has always worked in LA. We have other analysts in California, Chicago. So it's worked for us. It's worked for us. But as I said before, we were together, and I think going through this downturn in the market, probably being together would have been better, but it made us work harder at overcoming the lack of closeness.
One of the things I do love talking about you is just kind of where your mind is going and investments. And you do look for innovative, disruptive companies, but you've been buying something like a Pfizer. Mm-hmm. I don't think of Pfizer.
Yes.
It's the old big pharma.
Yeah.
With the infrastructure and the legacy of it, but it is a company that you found interesting.
So we think one of the most interesting opportunities out there that is in the value space is biotech and maybe some pharma. Those companies that we see embracing the convergence between and among DNA sequencing, artificial intelligence, and CRISPR gene editing, gene therapies generally, we're very interested in, because the returns on their R&D investment in the last 20 years have dropped, this is on average for the industry, from 20% to 7%. We believe with especially artificial intelligence, trial failures will reduce. There will be a reduction by at least 25%. Could be a lot more. The time to market could be 25% less. And so we could go back to the golden age. Now, not every company is embracing these, but those who are, and Pfizer, with some of its moves into base editing, is intriguing us here, as is Regeneron and Vertex.
So what's the moonshot we should be thinking about? I did an interesting panel here about longevity and technology, and just talking about different types of technologies that are out there. What is the Tesla of tomorrow? What is the Apple of tomorrow? I mean, obviously we don't know, but what is it in terms of the general technologies? You guys do the research that we should be thinking about.
Well, I do think the genomic space, because of how our industry is set up, where you have healthcare analysts who historically have not liked technology, and technology analysts who historically have not liked to get involved with healthcare, too regulated, too slow. We've got this major convergence taking place, and I don't think the traditional asset management world, from a research point of view, is set up correctly to capitalize on it. We have set up our team by technologies. And we have 3 genome analysts, so we've got them very specialized on the technologies, and they are looking at how these technologies are going to cut across sectors. The GDP, the cost savings and the GDP creation out of healthcare we think is going to be phenomenal.
And it does feel like one space that's been very stagnant.
It does. And there's one other thing, I'll just throw out a number. It's fresh and it's subject to revision, but we were assuming that in the next 10 years, artificial intelligence would deliver, in the enterprise software space, would deliver a market cap opportunity of $30 trillion, okay? From tens of billions today. Our new number is 80 trillion. And from tens of billions today. So we think that is the big new frontier, but it's going to be in transportation, autonomous taxi technology, autonomous trucks, drones, and so forth. It is in genomics, and so it's going to make these platforms come alive and evolve much faster than even we thought was possible.
Right.
I mean, this 30 trillion was a 2-year ago number. Now we're up to,
that's doubled.
now we're almost tripled.
So last question, unlikely celebrity fund manager. What do you make of the copycats? Because it just seems like every day on Bloomberg, there are your traditional Wall Street firms and your index fund managers, you know who they are, and they've got an innovative, disruptive strategy. So does that give you vindication, or do you say, I don't really want the competition, or no, great, because it just means more innovation?
Well, I don't know how, we definitely welcome the competition because, again, I still think there's a massive misallocation of capital to the past. And the more to the future, the more the US keeps its competitive advantage and the world solves problems, right? And the world becomes a better place. If they have not reorganized their research departments in the way I just described, then I don't think they're really competing with us the way we're doing it.
Because you do it differently.
We do. We do it differently. And there are more ways to do this than just the way we're doing it. But I think the depth to which our analysts go into these technologies has never been done on Wall Street before. And that's, again, because we set up the firm to do that.
So disruption.
Disruption.
Going to leave it on that note.
Thank
Kathy,
you.
Thank you so much.
Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you.